I understand we have some new resource persons. Let's get through with the administrative requirements. But first off, let me acknowledge the presence of the Senate Minority Floor Leader, Senator Juan Ponce Enrile. Good morning, sir. Senator Tito Soto. Good morning, sir. Senator Serge Osmeña, the Chairman of the Committee on Banks. Good morning, sir. Senator J.V. Ejercito. Good morning, sir. Senator Bam Aquino. Good morning, sir. Senator Coco Pimentel. Good morning, sir. Oh, okay. Hindi ko nakita. Senator Ralph Recto. Good morning, sir. Oh, okay. We have some resource persons who are new. I would like the CORSEC, the COMSEC to administer the oath. COMSEC.
Could we request all the guests who are appearing for the first time to take their oath, please? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this investigation? Please say it. Thank you. Please take your seats.
All right. Thank you. We will start with the Chairman of the Committee on Banks, Senator Osmeña. I think you have some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. We understand that Ms. Digito is not here today and that former Senator Rene Sagisag would like to make a statement on her behalf. But can we just make it short, Mr. Senator? Would you like to just tell us why Ms. Digito is not here and when she will be able to appear?
Yes.
Can you hear me well, Rene?
Kagalang-galang na tagapangulo at mga kasapi ng lupon ng Lasong Bugaw. Magandang umaga po. Kahapon po ako ay nagpahatid na ng isang liham na nagsasaad po kung bakit ako po nandirito. Napakiusapan po over the weekend, Council of Record, Ferdito Pasio at kasama niya na tumayo po ngayon dahil out of the country po to discharge a commitment made earlier. They're just asking kung maaari po a week-long respite and then they'll be ready to continue cooperating as they have done before.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Senator.
I need not read this po dahil nakakabit na po sa ating
But we did
record.
read it and we would like to thank you. I think the committee would be willing to allow Ms. Digito that respite. But it's not a week-long respite. It's a 2-week-long respite. Kasi isama mo na yung Holy Week. Our last hearing was on March 17. So if you will guarantee that she will be here the next hearing.
Kung mapag-uunlakan po at mapagbibigyan po kami, we'd be more grateful than we can say. So itutuloy po namin ang pagtulong sa lupon to get at the facts and relevant matters. So makakarating po yan sa mga kasama kong manananggol na siya po ang Council of Record ni Maya Digito.
All right, I leave it up to my colleagues.
I think we could grant that so that after next week, then we can expect Ms. Digito to appear.
Our next hearing is on Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
Okay, our next hearing is Tuesday next week.
Maraming salamat po.
Yes, sir.
And may I state now that I just got out of Makati Med. In fact, when I was last here, I was in a wheelchair for the necro of Uncle Joby Salonga. So baka hanggang alauna lang po at wala na po ng kamandag nyo. Maraming salamat po.
Okay then. Thank you, Senator Sagisag.
May I just make a suggestion? We speak in English because we have foreign observers, and we would like them to be able to understand what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, Senator Osmeña, you have the floor.
Yes, we also understand that the representatives of RCBC have a request to make. Mr. Tan, Lorenzo Tan, would you like to state that request? Or would Attorney Marcel?
May I? Your Honor, in case you would wish to question us on procedures, we would be willing to discuss with you our procedures, but if possible in executive session, just because there are so many security features that we will be discussing, and it would be difficult to discuss without compromising the security of our bank. Of course, we still have our obligation for bank secrecy, even in executive session, but that would be our request, Your Honor.
All right. Well, that's that's the decision of the committee to make. But I have some preliminary questions. You brought up again the fact that the bank secrecy law protects the integrity of the individual accounts, correct?
Yes, there are several laws, Your Honor, that cover the deposits.
Yes. Name those laws.
The General Banking Act, you have the AMLA Act, there's the Bank Secrecy Law,
All right.
and the FCDU Law. There are 4 laws, Your Honor.
All right. Now, that's for an account owned by a person, right? Now, we understand that RCBC already has found out that those 4 accounts, or those 5 accounts, including Picaches, don't exist. Those persons don't exist. So therefore, there's nothing to protect. There's nobody to protect.
Your Honor, we have actually consulted with our external counsel, and the advice is the wording of the bank secrecy laws covers the deposit itself. So even if the account holder, for example, would be fictitious, first there has to be a court order determining that. But even if the bank secrecy still applies to the deposits, we are very cooperative. We would like to discuss the details, and we are actually sharing what information we have with the AMLC and the BSP. But we are unable to discuss details of specific deposits and accounts unless there's a
So
waiver,
now you're
Your
not
Honor.
protecting the person, you're protecting the deposit.
No, Your Honor, that's actually what the law says.
Will you read the specific
I'll
provision
get
in the law?
Section 2 of the Bank Secrecy Law provides that all deposits of whatever nature in banks in the Philippines are absolutely confidential in nature and may not be inquired or looked into by any person, government official, bureau, or office. There are some exceptions, Your Honor.
All right. And so that refers to the deposit itself. So
The deposit itself.
And so if those deposits are the fruits of a robbery, a fraudulent transaction, you're still going to protect those deposits.
The law gives the banks an absolute obligation unless there are exceptions. Apart from the knowing, voluntary, and written consent of the depositor, banks may actually be required to divulge information in certain instances like impeachment, for example, bribery, dereliction of duty of public officials. There are specific cases, Your Honor.
All right. So in this particular case, if we go into executive session, you'll be able to share those things with
No,
the
Your
committee?
Honor. We still have our obligations.
So
in
what's the
executive
plus
session.
in going to executive session for the committee? Because we have to be transparent with
Yes,
our
Your
public,
Honor.
and all our hearings are open and
Yes.
open to the public.
Your Honor, we have done our best to be transparent to the extent that the law allows us. But especially in cases of dollar accounts, only the written consent of the depositor will allow us to divulge the information. We are mindful of these
Now,
laws
who
and
is the
obligations.
depositor in this specific case? Would the depositor be who? You want the consent of the depositor. The depositor does not exist. So, whose consent do we get?
Your Honor, even if we would like to, we see the loophole in the law, and we hope that with this hearing, you will be able to address that loophole, because we really are unable to divulge despite the absurd situation.
Since these funds, we agree, were stolen from the Bank of Bangladesh, would you not consider Bangladesh Bank the depositor?
Your Honor, no. Under the law, that would not be the case, and I don't think that there is definitive proof.
So
that would
therefore,
allow
you're
us
saying,
to speak.
Attorney Marcel, if I steal your money and I deposit it in an account, no one can look into that account to determine whether it was Marcel's money or not. As
If
to
it's-
amount, the date it was deposited, wala.
If it's a peso account, Your Honor, and there's a court case with respect to that amount, we can discuss it in court.
Anong court case? Wala pang court case.
But in a
Investigation
Senate
lang.
hearing, sir, or an investigation, the law does not allow us to speak about these
All right.
deposits.
We're getting into a debate, but I'd like to know what is the stand here, or what is the personality of the Bank of Bangladesh who owns that money?
As far as we are concerned, Your Honor, we do not know if the Bank of Bangladesh is the owner of the funds here. We do
You
not
don't?
have any legal
The whole world knows that the
order.
Bank of
Yes, Your
Bangladesh
Honor.
was
Yes.
hacked,
Yes, Your Honor.
but that this is not their money. Or you don't know that it's their money.
As far as the banks are concerned, and given the current laws in place, it is not for the bank to determine if the owner of an amount that was robbed has a right to the account or to the deposits. It's not for the bank, Your Honor.
Teka muna.
Even if I would want to, we are unable to, Your Honor.
Teka muna. Pag hindi natuloy, if the notice from New York had arrived earlier and the funds were not remitted out of Jupiter into somebody else's account, wouldn't you, the bank, have had the obligation to stop payment?
If there's a freeze order from a court, Your Honor,
No,
yes.
without a freeze order, don't you use your judgment and stop payment at any point?
In general, Your Honor, if it's a request for freeze, the best that the banks could do under the current laws would be to allow the parties, the person questioning the sending of the funds, and the account holder to speak. But the bank itself does not have the rights that it has under a freeze order. So we cannot return the funds unilaterally in that case. That is what the law allows us. We really just
Hindi,
operate in
anong
that
gagawin
framework.
ng bangko ninyo? Dumating yung hold order. You got a notice from the Bank of Bangladesh. You got a notice from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. You know, I'd like to inform the body that we hacked a U.S. bank. Not we, but the hackers hacked a U.S. bank. That is why it's now a federal crime. And that's why there's been a bigger hullabaloo because tinamaan ng New York. So, we would like to know from you, what would you have done if you had ample notice?
If we have ample notice, in any case, the only rights that are given to us would be to file an STR, a suspicious transactions report. And
Pero itutuloy ninyo yung remittance.
we can hold it for a period.
No. Tell me what you would do. Don't tell me what you can do.
Under the law, we have not been given any right to retain the funds, Your Honor.
I'm afraid many bankers would disagree with you, but I guess you're arguing from your point of view, no?
No, Your Honor. It would be...
Akong bangko, somebody stole money from Senator Bam's
Yes,
account,
yes.
say 1 million pesos. Then Bam tells me, that's my money, can you stop payment? Do not make it go any further. If I were the bank, I would be obligated to stop payment. I may not give the money back to Bam until he proves it's his.
Yes.
But definitely, I would stop payment.
I understand the logic, Your Honor, but unfortunately, the laws do not reflect the rights that you are explaining. It would be, for example, if a supplier sold a tractor to a buyer, and
If
payment
you have
order,
proof that there is legal transaction, of course you've got
we have
reason.
if there is
But
proof,
if there is no legal transaction, I stole Bam's money and I was just transferring the money to somebody else and I don't have any legal transaction with that somebody, there's no trade, there's no
Yes.
payment for services, you'd have to question me first. Teka muna.
yes, we would slow down
In the
on the
meantime, you would have to
processing.
stop payment,
Yes,
right?
we would slow
All
down
right.
on the processing and make the parties speak.
But
But
you
may I
would
finish
stop
my
payment.
example? We would slow down. Your
No,
Honor,
don't tell me slow down because I don't know what
Effectively, it
slow
would
down
have the
man.
same effect, Your
Either
Honor.
this goes through or this does not go through. Isang pindot lang yan.
effectively, it would have the same effect, Your Honor. But may I just go back to my example? If I
It
sold
will not
the
have the
tractor,
same effect and you're not being very candid with the
I'm
committee.
very candid, Your Honor, on this.
So what do you mean you can stop it? You will stop it,
For a
won't you?
temporary period only, Your Honor.
Well, I
just to
don't care
allow
if
the
it's
parties
temporary
to speak.
or permanent, but you will stop it until you can do some confirmation.
No, Your Honor.
You won't?
The laws do not allow us that right. And
I've
I'd like
talked
to
to
finish my
several
example.
bankers, top bankers, and they said, yes, they would exercise their discretion and stop it.
Your Honor, perhaps you would like to speak with others, but in this hearing, but that is not our reading of the law. And if I may just finish, if I sold the tractor to someone,
So
and there's a payment
RCBC
order,
is different. You're
no,
on the
Your
different.
Honor, all banks have the same obligations and rights under the same laws.
But I did ask those banks,
then
and they would stop.
I do
Teka
not
muna,
understand.
ninakaw yung pera. It's up to it's the discretion of the bank president or whoever
No, Your Honor.
to stop.
No.
So what is the use of the compliance?
That's why, Your Honor, it would be good
situation.
to amend the laws to give more teeth to the banks.
You're blaming
because
us now.
even no, sir, I'm not. Even the regulators do not have that authority, Your Honor. I wish that it would be the case because it would make our jobs easier and it would not put us in a position where
So
there is
you're-
logic in what you're saying and
You
we
are
cannot
telling the
follow.
whole world that send your money to the Philippines because we cannot stop
No, Your
the
Honor, I am
transmittal.
not.
It will go straight to the casino or to the remittance company, to the casino. Well, no, I'll not say. All right, now, I would like to ask also another question or go off on a related tact. Every bank has a threshold amount by which it is warned to examine the incoming deposit because it's very suspicious, right? In past hearings, wala kayong threshold amount.
Sir, if actually that would be the subject of our request for executive session, if that's the procedure, our operations head is here and he can discuss the details.
No, this is nothing secret. I mean, you either have a threshold amount
We have
or
a
you don't,
threshold
and you've
amount.
already.
Yes,
What is
Your
the
Honor.
threshold amount?
At that time, sir, it was 1 billion pesos.
1 billion pesos.
Yes, Your Honor.
Or roughly $20 million.
More or less.
More or less. So if it was less than that, you don't go up to higher ups.
Even with the threshold, Your Honor, there's no requirement to elevate it to senior management. It's still
Well,
at the settlements department.
That's
Your Honor.
very interesting. So $20 million, you don't elevate it to senior management. I want Mr. Yaitan to respond to my question. Yeah. Mr. Tan, continuing my line of questioning of Attorney Fernandez, at what amount would you have been forewarned, should you have been forewarned or alerted by your officers?
As Attorney Fernandez mentioned, Your Honor, we have a 1 billion threshold.
Pesos.
Yes, and most CEOs don't hear anymore about these remittances. Like in the case of RCBC, we probably had 50 remittances of 1 billion or more the past 3 years, and we don't hear about these remittances.
All right.
You know, because most of the time we're either in meetings or out of the country. We only hear about it when there's a problem.
And like in this case, you didn't hear about it, so now you have a problem.
Well, I found out, when it became an issue.
Well, answer my question. You didn't hear about it, and this became a problem. I thought compliance rules meant for you to be adequately forewarned.
No, sir. They raised the issue to me, but, after the funds have left already.
Yeah, but if you had gotten the issue raised before the funds had left,
I will still rely on the inputs from our compliance and our legal department on what we can do, sir.
that doesn't answer my question. What would you do?
Well,
You will pass the decision to them.
Well, we always base our decisions, sir, based on what we can do under the law and our existing policies.
Well, Attorney Fernandez just said that you wouldn't stop it because you're not allowed to stop it under the law.
That's right, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you have picked up the phone and called the central bank governor instead and said, I got a problem?
You're not allowed secrecy.
Well, under bank secrecy, our obligation, sir, is, to file the appropriate STR report and let the AMLC deal with the...
That means a few days delay, like in this case. It took
Well,
you several days to file the suspicious
Under
transaction
AMLC
report.
policies, sir, you're given 10 days to submit that
That's right.
STR report.
That's right.
And under
And by that time, the
regulations-
money is long gone,
Yes, that's the...
as we saw now.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know, based on the practices of RCBC, at what point would you have been alarmed? At what point would your officers have had to go up to the CEO and say, boss, I think you really have to take a look at this?
Well,
What would that amount be?
it's probably when instincts kick in, sir. I don't think it's the amount. They go to us for a business decision from time to time.
Well, in
But-
this case, Mr. Tan, you had 4 accounts, received dormant accounts, absolutely no economic activity, $6 million, $20 million, $25 million, $30 million, totaling $81 million, and they did not go to you and say, Chief, these 4 accounts, all dormant, suddenly received this 1 billion pesos average each.
No, sir, they did not go to me. Because
Should they have gone to you?
No,
we have existing
Ms. Marcel,
sorry.
we have existing policies and controls, Your Honor, and as CEO, you assume that their responsibilities are being done.
all right. Now, supposing $100 million each had been deposited into the account, they would not have gone to you?
I think in that case, they would have gone to me. I mean, it's like the difference between lending a 50 million clean loan versus a billion clean loan. Instincts come in.
Ayan. So, meron kang threshold amount. I'm trying to determine what's the threshold amount. You said it's about $22 million. And so, if you had 100 anonymous fake accounts and they each received $22 million or less, it doesn't come to the CEO's attention.
That's why my opinion, Your Honor, thresholds can only give you, a protection at a certain point, because people will find out what your threshold is, and then they will remit below that. I mean, that happened when we started filtering OFW remittances. The limit was 10,000, so some people were remitting 9,000, 10 times or 40 times, right?
That's right.
I think what will really...
But we're not talking about $10,000 here.
What will really catch, dirty money would be, having intelligent systems in your bank, like what you have in global banks today. I mean, even if you have, modern software, you still need instincts to kick in. Your compliance people, your operations people, your sales people, they all have to use their judgment.
If all the other banks have threshold amounts of $1 million, $2.5 million, maximum $5 million, yours was at $22 million, you are way out of line vis-a-vis your other peers
Your
in the
Honor, I
banking
think-
community?
I think it depends on the size of your bank. Our total assets as of year end was 530 billion pesos. So, I think 1 billion was a reasonable amount at that time. Now, because of this
Mr.
experience,
Tan, the banks I talked to were all much bigger than RCBC. And they all had threshold amounts of that. $1 million, $2.5 million.
well, again, Your Honor, it's a balancing act. If you lower the amount, commerce will be affected because some of these remittances are meant to pay certain obligations. Like if you're dealing with the
Only for
capital markets.
RCBC? Only for RCBC? I mean, you were president of the Bankers Association of the Philippines for 2 years, so surely you knew exactly what the other banks also were doing, what their thresholds were.
Unfortunately, Your Honor, we don't share notes on thresholds and things like that. But some banks have similar systems.
Wouldn't the AMLA compliance been one of your concerns as president of the Bankers Association of the Philippines?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think RCBC was compliant with AMLA policies. I think what happened here is, some judgment error from the people, on the ground. Right? I think if you look at our systems, we have been applying Six Sigma principles in our processes.
Yes.
We have foreign consultants that look at every process of the bank, and we have 16 products that we sell to every consumer and every corporation. Remittance is just one of 16, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, banks have 1,000 processes. If you decide to change the whole kitchen of a bank, you have to go through 1,000 processes, right? And this is one of them. I think what happened here is, we had the IT controls, the human controls, but unfortunately it failed in the end, in the execution.
And it would fail again because, as Attorney Fernandez responded, you wouldn't stop the transaction from
this
going
experience is, we have made changes to our present system to prevent this from happening again. And if you ask my opinion, Your Honor, I mean, it can happen again. Philippine banks have to upgrade to cognitive systems. We have to look at our employee behavior, what time they go in, what time they go out, what they do outside. We have to look at transaction behavior. Only computers can do that. Because if you have a bank and you envision to have 20 million, 40 million customers times X number of transactions per second, there's no way you can have human intervention along the way. You must combine people and IT.
The other banks have human intervention.
Well, Your Honor, it's like a Formula One
Not
race,
as a standard, but at a certain level, they have human intervention. Like I said, their threshold amounts are $1 million. Now, since these banks are 10 times bigger than RCBC,
it's balancing
their
cost
volumes are much
efficiency
bigger.
and speed, Your Honor. I mean, in our business, you have to balance cost efficiency, speed, and control, right? I mean, the global banks, they were hit with Bernie Madoff. 4 years they were in the books of the largest U.S. bank, right?
Yes.
Nick Leeson brought down a 100-year-old institution because of poor controls. This happens because, it's just like racing a Formula One race. You either invest in a Ferrari or a McLaren and have the best driver to drive it. You need both. We have 6 levels of training program, and yes, we are sorry this happened, but it's human error, human judgment, or
We're trying
it's
to
intentional.
determine. That's precisely we appreciate your comments, and the committee is trying to determine whether human judgment was indeed the main culprit in this case, or the compliance rules of RCBC
We're
severely lacking. But tell me something.
Oh, okay. We have some resource persons who are new. I would like the COMSEC to administer the oath. COMSEC.
Could we request all the guests who are appearing for the first time to take their oath, please? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this investigation? Please say it. Thank you. Please take your seats.
All right. Thank you.
Kung maaari po, a week-long respite, and then they'll be ready to continue cooperating as they have done before.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Senator.
I need not read this po dahil nakakabit
No
na po
longer.
sa ating
But we did
record.
read it, and we would like to thank you. I think the committee would be willing to allow Ms. Digito that respite, but it's not a week-long respite. It's a 2-week-long respite. Kasi isama mo na yung Holy Week. Our last hearing was on March 17. So if you will guarantee that she will be here in the next hearing,
Kung
I understand we have some new resource persons. Let's get through with the administrative requirements. But first off, let me acknowledge the presence of the Senate Minority Floor Leader, Senator Juan Ponce Enrile. Good morning, sir. Senator Tito Soto. Good morning, sir. Senator Serge Osmeña, the Chairman of the Committee on Banks. Morning, sir. Senator J.V. Ejercito. Morning, sir. Senator Bam Aquino. Good morning, sir. Senator Coco Pimentel. Good morning, sir. Oh, okay. Hindi ko nakita. Senator Ralph Recto. Good morning, sir.
can you hear me well, Rene?
kagalang-galang na tagapangulo at mga kasapi ng lupon ng Lasong Bugaw. Magandang umaga po. Kahapon po ako ay nagpahatid na ng isang liham na nagsasaad po kung bakit ako po nandirito. Napakiusapan po over the weekend, Council of Record, Ferdito Pasio at kasama niya na tumayo po ngayon dahil out of the country po to discharge a commitment made earlier. They're just asking.
We will start with the Chairman of the Committee on Banks, Senator Osmeña. I think you have some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. We understand that Ms. Digito is not here today and that former Senator Rene Sagisag would like to make a statement on her behalf. But can we just make it short, Mr. Senator? Would you like to just tell us why Ms. Digito is not here and when she will be able to appear?